Hey guys, I'm Angela Simmons. I want to thank you guys so much for being present for Angela's Angels Foundation. Today is our first virtual event series. This is our first panel, and it is around health and wellness. I'm excited for you guys to see. I hope you enjoy.
Hey everyone, I hope you're ready for an inspiring conversation about the importance of health and wellness, sponsored by Angela's Angels Foundation, which is founded by business mogul and philanthropist Angela Simmons to help provide young women from underrepresented communities with the resources for career development, financial literacy, housing, and self-esteem that they need. Today, we're going to have a conversation again about the importance of health and wellness, a topic that Angela is very passionate about with a distinguished panel of experts. But before we get to the panel, let me introduce myself. My name is Selena Hill, and I'm an award-winning multimedia journalist, on-air talent, host, and media founder who has had interviews with amazing people like Kevin Hart, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Gabrielle Union. I'm super excited to be here. So now I will kick it off to our wonderful panelists. Who wants to start with introducing themselves?
I guess I'll start.
Makes sense.
I'm Angela Simmons. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's participating in this event today. This means a lot. My hope and goal with the foundation is to be able to really touch the lives of others and to be able to inspire. I really feel like we're in a time where we need inspiration. We need each other. I really feel like women need to lean on women, and hopefully we can help touch many others as well. But I'm just excited to be here. This is my baby. I've wanted to do this my whole life. And so I really want to thank Alicia for making this possible and making this happen, because this means a lot to me. This is near and dear to my heart. And this is something that, I want to start here, but I want it to grow. And I really hope that we can do what we set out to do here. So I'm excited. And I thank you guys again for being a part of this. So I'll kick it over to the next up.
All right, I'll go next. My name is Shanti Das. Hello, Angela. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this amazing panel. And thank you to Champions for Philanthropy. I am a 25-year music industry veteran. Got my start in the early 90s, helping to launch the careers of artists like Usher and Outkast and TLC and Toni Braxton. Angela even got a chance to work with Run DMC when I was at Arista, and had a really long storied career and ended my career as EVP at Universal Motown. I walked away when I was at the height of my career, corner office, making almost $500,000 a year, and I had to really focus on wellness and self-care. My dad took his own life when I was 7 months old. And in 2014, my best friend took her own life. And then in 2015, I came really close to taking my own life. So I started this organization called Silence the Shame in 2015 after that happened. And I've been on the front lines, particularly in the Black community and communities of color, really helping to erase stigma. And it's an honor and a privilege to be able to do this work. And I'm very vulnerable and transparent about my story. And so I'm hoping that my story and the work that we do at Silence the Shame will help empower the lives of the ladies and women that will be watching this. So thank you again for allowing me to participate.
Thank you.
Hello, guys. My name is Ednesha Saulsbury. I am a licensed clinical social worker or a psychotherapist in New York City. I'm also a self-care advocate. I am a podcast host, and I am the co-founder of Black Women Be Whole. So Black Women Be Whole is a platform that focuses on the mental and emotional health of Black women through workshops, retreats, brunches. And so for me, I think my mission in life is to really make sure that Black women feel seen, feel heard, feel validated, and feel supported. So I am so excited to be here. Thank you again, Angela. Thank you, Champions of Philanthropy, for having me. And I'm ready to get into a really good conversation today, ladies.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ebonny Fowler. I am the founder of Fun with Fit, and that's what I am all about, helping women have fun with fitness. One of the reasons that fitness is near and dear to me is because I had a traumatic incident that happened to me several years ago, and taking a kickboxing class is what helped me overcome my insecurities, helped me overcome depression, I have a child in the background. You might hear him in the back. But it really is near and dear to me because I love that fitness can bring women together and help us feel better about ourselves. And I work with Women's Health Magazine on a weekly basis on their Instagram channel. And I am so honored and excited to be here with you all. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So as you see, we have a very distinguished panel, and I can't wait to start this conversation. I want to just ask, what activities and exercises does everyone do to keep their mental and physical health boosted at this time? And if Angela, if you could start us off, because if anyone follows you on social media, you are working out day in, day out. I mean, you create wonderful content that's motivational. In fact, you posted something where you said, like, even if you just move your body for a few minutes a day, it does something to you, right? And I took that advice and I started doing dance breaks after you posted that. So tell us what you are doing to just stay sane and fit at this time.
So for me, and I've always been like this before I even get into work or anything else for the day, it's like, I need to work out. And I really started my fitness journey at I want to say 18 or 19 once I moved to LA. I was living in California and I realized how much better I felt when I started my day off with working out. Before I get to anything else, I'm like, I really need a second for myself. And that has become fitness. You know, like the first thing I do, I'm like, okay, before I really handle anything else, like let me work out. And I've done a lot of different forms of working out, whether that's boxing, you know, Pilates, yoga, hot yoga, spin. Like, I think it's important to switch it up too, because sometimes your body just gets kind of plateaus and gets used to a certain workout, or you could get injuries like that. Like, there's a million different things, but the main part for me, I would say, is just doing it. You know, like waking up and saying, like, being committed to that. A lot of people are like, oh, it's really hard for me to do it because I have so much going on. But it's like, either you wake up an hour or two earlier than what you normally would, and you just, whatever that is, I don't care if it's a 15-minute routine, 10 minutes, I commit at least an hour minimum. I'm like, listen, I can give myself an hour in the morning to work out because I feel good after, and my day to me goes so much better. And it's true, like if you just get up and you move, like you creating like a whole different energy vibe. Like, it's not, a lot of times people, I feel like, suffer from depression, and a lot of times that comes from sitting still, sitting stagnant, not being able to be creative. When you move your body and you're moving, like motion helps, you know. And so for me, it's just about waking up and doing it. That is my main objective. Before anything else, I don't care if I'm stressed, not stressed. I'm like, listen, start here, and then my day goes way better.
Oh, it does for me, especially during the pandemic. I've just been taking walks. You know, back in the summertime, I would walk for an hour or two. And like Angela said, it clears your mind, it frees you, and it allows you to be even more productive. Ebonny, we definitely have to hear you chime in here because you're a certified fitness coach yourself. So not only are what you doing, but talk about what you advise your clients and just other people to do at this time.
Okay, so like I said, I'm all about making it fun. And I use that acronym FUN to help you remember. F, find what works for you. So maybe you're not the type of person who likes to pick up dumbbells. Maybe you don't have equipment. It's all good. You can do something as simple as, like Angela was saying, you can dance, you can walk, you can go for a run, you can do jump rope. You use what you already have. If you don't have equipment at home, you can use household items. I have things on my Instagram channel where I am doing workouts with a mop, a book, a children's toy, a backpack filled with items. There are so many. You just have to be creative and just have fun with it, and never give up. It's all about just doing it, continue it, being consistent. That's what's key. And if you don't have an hour in the morning, I recommend also you can do 15-minute increments, maybe 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. It's all about getting in some movement and just staying active and doing what works for you. But you got to stay moving. You got to move your body, and you have to stay consistent.
Yes, for sure. Ednesha, what are you doing to practice good mental and physical fitness at this time?
So like everyone talked about, the first thing is physical activity. Similar to you, Selena, during the summer, I was taking a walk through Central Park, and I would walk the whole loop, which I think is like 6 miles. But I did that at like 7 a.m. because I needed to get ready for my day. Like if you think about it, me working from home, I'm listening to people talk all day, right? And it can be anxiety inducing after doing this all day, sitting in my dining room table. Like I've been sitting in the same spot now for a whole year. So like that walking just kind of got me started and got me ready. I also do a mental health check-in. So like I ask myself when I wake up, like, how are you feeling? Like, where are you at? So like, if I'm not in the best of mood, I think about like, why are you feeling this way? What's going on with you? And how can we make a change? Right? And if you're feeling great, how can I continue to feel great all day? Like, what do I need to do to like, again, consistency, right? To kind of keep this feeling going. Because I think that we notice that the slightest things can kind of change our mood, right? And so I always want to kind of pay attention to what's going on. So when you say some of the things I'm doing mentally, I've learned how to say no. And that for me, that has been really huge because I'm asked to do things all the time, right? Either from my clients or like now I'm speaking on a panel of all these things, but sometimes I have to realize what can you do and what can't you do, right? Like sometimes you just have to say no. And sometimes saying no is saying yes to you. So, and the last thing I would say is I have a schedule and a routine. I think that that has been the thing that has saved me throughout this pandemic because I know what I'm doing with my day. Right? Like, so I'm very focused on that. And so when I know what I'm doing, then I don't have to feel anxious about it. And that feels really good to kind of be focused on, you know, what the day is going to bring me. So for me, you know, it's that mental health check-in, is a little bit of physical activity, is saying no, and also just having gratitude, just being grateful for the things I do have. I think a lot of us are grieving so many things. We're grieving the loss of people, normalcy, certainty. We don't know what's going to happen from day to day. So I just kind of find my joy each and every day. I find something to be grateful for.
Those tips were so wonderful. Thank you for that, Ednesha. Shanti, same question. What are you doing to remain physically and mentally fit at this time?
So I obviously taken a page out of all the ladies' books that have spoken so far. Sometimes I take a walk, but I just want to speak from a different perspective. Sometimes, y'all, I don't even have the capacity to get out of bed or to take a walk. And I have suffered from depression. And I also lost my sister who passed away unexpectedly in 2019. And the grief has been debilitating. And so for me, you know, I literally have to wake up every morning to see where I'm at. When people ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm taking it one day at a time. If sometimes I'm having a bad day in the middle of the day, I'll go out and take a walk. But I really realized finally, and I do this work, right, as an advocate, and I do a lot of panels and I share and I help people, but it's important for me to learn how to pour back into myself. So I started back therapy. So mental health for me and wellness was starting back in with a therapist and being committed to it so that I can finally find ways through the grief of losing my sister. And she wasn't just a sister. She was like a mom to me, my best friend. We talked 6-7 times a day. I mean, it was the worst thing I've ever been through in my life, on top of me wanting to take my own life. So I do that. And then also I've tried to just take out a lot of sugary foods because you are what you eat. And so drinking Coca-Colas and eating late at night, I woke up feeling sluggish. And so I tried to just eliminate a lot of sugar from my diet. And the other thing too, to be able to have that routine that you all talked about and being able to get 15 minutes of exercise in is I've been very focused and intentional about my prayer in the mornings. And I pray and ask God to help me. I even ask God to take away some of the taste of even alcohol and wanting to just have that cocktail, because sometimes I would lean on my cocktails, right, as an unhealthy coping mechanism. So just really trying to be more centered and at one with God and allowing him to help me lead and be able to get to that point where I can go to therapy, where I can exercise. So sometimes it's a little bit harder for some of us that have been, you know, dealing with a traumatic experience to even muster up that courage to be able to do the physical and mental things that we need to stay whole.
You know, speaking of courage, Shanti, thank you so much for your level of transparency and vulnerability, because that always takes courage. And, you know, obviously you have the Silence the Shame movement and podcast that you're doing. And, you know, that just shows us that we have to talk about these traumas. We have to talk about when we're not feeling good. We got to do the temperature checks that Ednesha was talking about, because not every day is a good day. Not every season is a good season, but we do have to, make sure that we're pushing forward. Shanti, as a mental health advocate, that's who you are now. Were you always this type of person? Did you always prioritize your personal health and wellness? And if not, when and why did you make it a priority?
Great question. No, I did not. I was, this music industry executive flying around the world, quite honestly, on tour with all my artists and taking care of everybody else's problems. My sister and brother are married with 3 kids, so I would look to them when I could, but I was always on the go. And back in the day, in the 90s and 2000 decades, like wellness and self-care wasn't a thing, quote unquote. And Angela, I'm sure you know this, that you talked about in the music business. It was, hashtag no sleep. The harder you work, the harder you go, the more checks, you make and all the side hustles that come along with that. So no, and I was overeating and eating late at night. You go from the office to the dinner, back to the studio, to the club, and you end up getting home at 4 a.m. every morning. And so there was no time for physical activity, no time for meditation. And so all of that, Selena, changed for me probably when I first started dealing with, working in a corporate environment. When I was at Arista Records, I remember having a meltdown at the airport. And I was like, I can't take this anymore. My face was breaking out. I didn't really want to go out and be around friends. And I said, maybe I should just kill myself. That scared me to death because my dad took his own life. And so once I did that, I went to therapy, but then, it was my ego. I was like, I only need a couple months of it. And then I jumped back into what I was doing. So I quit at the end of 2009. Like I said, I was EVP. I was making almost $500,000 a year. I was miserable. I was depressed. I had developed cervical spinal stenosis, which I was in my 30s. And typically people get that when they're in their 60s and 70s. And it's due to stress. And it was my sister, rest her soul, who was like, you got it. You're going to kill yourself. Like you're driving yourself into the ground. And so I finally just walked away from it all to focus on myself and family. But then, it was me wanting to take my own life that I knew that I needed to get help. I started on antidepressants in 2015. And then I started openly sharing about it on social media. And that's kind of how Silence of Shame was born. But it really took me, Selena, hitting rock bottom. And obviously everyone doesn't go through that level and that process of it. But it takes us going through something really tough to really see the beauty in wanting to take care of your mental health and wellness.
Yeah, you said something really powerful. I feel like the hustle is really glorified in this industry, and there's not enough of these conversations about what to do because people are suffering from depression and heavy emotional traumas and stuff. And there's conversations about therapists, but people are like, how do I get it? Where do I go? Is it covered under my insurance? Like, am I going to be embarrassed because I'm getting help now? You know what I mean? I feel like we need to start glorifying that when people are coming forward and having these conversations about this stuff because it's so important. You know what I mean? Like a healthy mind breeds so much better of a life. Like you can actually really hustle the right way because you're happy and you're not doing it from this dark place. But I just feel like when you said that and I'm listening to what you're saying and what caused you your depression and how you're running yourself into the ground, it's true. Like the hustle is literally glorified. Oh, you're on your hustle. But what about your mental health? Like, are you okay? Did anyone check on you today to make sure you're actually happy and not just doing this for a check? We all need to survive, but if we're not happy in the process, what are we doing to ourselves? You know what I mean? And life is not promised to anyone every day. Stress is just the silent killer, so it's just so many things that I feel like have to be talked about. So I'm just glad we're having this conversation, but that's really inspirational. Just even you walking away from your job because you knew that wasn't bringing you the amount of joy that you needed and you were actually struggling with that. I think there are a lot of people like you who are dealing with that and they don't have an outlet or even somebody to push them in a direction of, hey, walk away from this. Doesn't matter how much money you're making, walk away because you're going to kill yourself like this. Or you may wind up there.
Yeah, or at least take a break, right? Go, take that month off, right? Or whatever you may need to do. But absolutely, we need to push each other. And that's not to say everybody has to quit whatever the situation is. But if we have, psychotherapists and psychiatrists and, fitness coaches, like all these amazing ladies on the call today, we would be better equipped, to your point, Angela, to be able to handle all the pressures that we deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, and make the right decision for yourself. Am I in it for the hustle or am I in it because I love it? Right. And then that just goes back to people living in their true purpose. And are you ever living in your true purpose if you're actually not happy? You know what I mean? Like, is this really because you do things you love. Like, I feel like you're supposed to go in that direction. You know what I mean? Like, there's making a living, and then there's also doing a thing that fulfill your soul. And so how can you fulfill your soul if you're not a happy individual inside? So it all goes right back to mental health, and that's what I'm taking from this.
Absolutely.
Oh, so sorry. I just want to say, I think we do have to think about, as Black people in this country, we have been conditioned to do and not feel. So if you take it way back to slavery, no one cared how we felt. Okay. Right. And so we just had to do. And so that has been the thing that has stayed with us all of these years, right? Is that nobody cares how you feel, right? We say toxic things like, put your big girl drawers on, right? Like, man up. All that says is that don't feel, just do. Because what also happens is a domino effect, right? So say that if I feel all of my feelings, right, and I get overcome by depression, maybe I can't get out the bed, right? So if I can't get out the bed, I can't go to work. If I can't go to work, the bills don't get paid, right? And so there is a fear that once you kind of allow yourself to be vulnerable and feel all your feelings, everything will just fall apart, right? But I guess what I want to say is we don't have to get to that point, right? We can feel our feelings. We can talk about our feelings. We can find people to be in our lives that will validate our feelings, right? So we can feel supported. So we can say, yeah, I'm tired, right? Like, I'm a therapist, and I don't say this, I really don't say it at all. I am diagnosed with anxiety. Like, I have anxiety. I deal with it every day, right? And it does negatively impact me, but I also go to therapy every week. I don't miss, right? I'm a therapist who goes to therapy. And, as a Black therapist, only about 5% of therapists are Black, but we're out here and people can find us. Right. And I do think that culture is a big, huge part of it. Because when people come to see me, and I predominantly see people of color, mainly Black women, you don't have to explain culture. You don't want to have to go to therapy and not be able to. If you want to say a slang word, I get it. I can use the same word. I'm from Harlem at the end of the day, right? Like, I see you. And I think that that's what all of this is about. People just want to be seen and be supported. Right. So if you can do that for your friends, do it. But yeah, it's nothing wrong with going to therapy. And I think that
great. Therapy's great.
I love it.
No, yeah, we all need therapy. Ebony, we definitely want to get your voice in here, your response to everything that's being said. And also, did you always prioritize personal health and mental health and physical health? And if not, what made you switch?
I didn't. And, I love what the women are saying about, leaning on other people. Like, it's okay to see a therapist. It's okay to talk to a friend. I think one of the things, unfortunately, Black women, particularly Black women, we have this stigma. It's like we're always like competing against one another. And I think that it's so important that we lean on each other and really, help each other and make each other see that, it's okay that we can have a little friendly competition, but we can also still, talk to, like, if I'm feeling somehow, I need to know that there's people that I can go to, that I can talk to about what I'm feeling, and I don't have to keep it all in myself. And I think another important factor that Shanti was talking about, it's really important about what you consume. So I just recently in the morning started waking up with a whole new different approach for my day. Before, as soon as I wake up, the first thing that I do is that I pray. And now I've just recently started doing some journaling. I've always said that I want to keep a journal, but I find that when I do write down my thoughts and my feelings, and I do open up my heart with gratitude. Someone else also spoke about gratitude. I think all of these things are so important. How you start your day is a major reflection on how you're going to feel and what you're going to do throughout the day. And so I start with prayer, meditation, journaling, and gratitude. You have to be grateful for the things that you have in order to open up your heart to anything else. And, just really finding ways, what you consume is really important. I think a lot of people, the first thing that they do, we're in this whole stigma of like, the first thing we do, we're on our phone, seeing what's going on. We're checking our email. We're seeing what's going on social media. And I think a lot of those things, we don't realize the negative effect that it has on us. And you really have to start your day silencing the outdoor noise and really just focus on what you need for yourself. So like I said, if you can start with some type of meditation or prayer, maybe writing down your thoughts, how you're feeling, checking in with yourself. Like Ednesha was saying, meditating, maybe also, make sure you're getting something healthy to start your day, a healthy meal to start your day. Because I find that if I miss my breakfast, the day has gone on. I'm continually doing task after task after task. And I'm like, next thing I know, it's like afternoon and I still haven't eaten anything. So you really have to start with what's important for you first thing in the morning. And like Angela was saying, she likes to move her body first thing in the morning. So all those things that are important to you, try to do it first thing in the morning. And if that means that you have to wake up a few minutes earlier, I think that it's definitely going to have a big impact on how the rest of your day goes.
Perfect. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. And thank you for that. Shanti, we're talking a lot about how obviously self-care and mental health. And I feel like this movement has really evolved over the past decade. You were the one who brought up the point back in the 90s. I remember that hashtag because even in the 2000s, it was all about, like you said, no sleep and, grinding and hustling. We were saying things like, oh, while you were sleeping, I was grinding. So I want to ask you, how has this, the mental health issues and conversations really evolved over the past decade, and what still needs to be done so that we're having these conversations in schools and at the dinner table?
Right.
Yeah, so great question. And yeah, I came up with the bad boy LaFace crew. So to your point, it was always working #no sleep. But over the last, I would say 10 decades, we've seen a lot of people, especially in pop culture, in African-American culture, start opening up and sharing about, depression or whether, things run in their family. As I mentioned, my own suicidal ideation was 6 years ago in 2015. And I remember having a conversation with Nick Cannon, and he was like, yeah, a lot of my people in my family have dealt with it. But, as a family, it's not always talked about. Even my cousin rather, suffered from schizophrenia. And my mother used to say, your cousin having another one of those fits. I was like, Mom, what is a fit? I don't know do you mean he's having an episode, a psychotic episode or a break or what have you? And so there's so much that still needs to happen, but I am glad that people are opening up. And going back to just my work in entertainment, a lot of what I did was to start sharing my story and then reaching back into the business to get musicians, creatives, and executives to start talking about it. I remember we did a panel and Carrie Hilson, the singer-songwriter, shared about her depression for the very first time on one of our Silence of Shame panels. And, we had David Banner and, all types of people that started opening up. So I'm grateful that more people are open now, especially in the entertainment industry. Even artists like Royce 5'9", who's a really popular rapper. He talks about his alcoholism and what we've had to deal with, because you can't really talk about mental health or behavioral health and not talk about substance abuse and addiction, because so many of our creatives and actors and people in entertainment also utilize substance abuse, right? Because they're finding unhealthy ways to cope with the mental health problems. So from a stigma perspective, I think we've made great strides in the last 10 years, but we still have to educate, right? Because now that people are talking about it, are you really following through? I, for one, said, look, my name is Shanti Das. I'm an advocate. I've been depressed, though. And I wasn't even still going to therapy. Even though I knew the tools that I had, I wasn't still doing the work. So now that the education is starting to happen and the conversation has been normalized a bit, now we actually got to see it through. We got to hold our girlfriends accountable. We got to hold our young Black sisters and queens accountable so that if you know better, you do better. Because not all the time, if we know better, we do better. So we got to follow through with the execution. And, I'm proud to announce that Sony Music Publishing has just partnered with Silence to Shame, and we're going to train 10,000 people in music by the year 2020. We're going to offer crisis training, suicide prevention trainings on self-care. And so hopefully we can work with Angela's Angels and all these other incredible organizations so that we can make sure people actually do the work now that they know better.
So follow-up, exactly. I love that.
Speaking of doing the work, for many of us, that means seeking out a licensed therapist, Ednesha. And I do think that a lot of us still don't see the difference in speaking to family and friends about our problems as opposed to getting professional help. What's the difference, and when does someone know it's time to seek professional help?
Well, I think the main difference is that when you think about a friendship, it's kind of a back and forth situation, right? So I call you, you talk a little bit about you, I talk a little bit about me. It's a big back and forth. Therapy is all about you. It's 45 minutes to an hour that is solely focused on you. And I think a lot of us don't have that. And I've seen people who, in their first time in therapy, they don't know how to do that. Like they don't know how to actually sit and talk about them. They feel like I'm complaining, Ednesha. You're not complaining. You're talking about your life. You're talking about the things in your life that impact you. You're talking about the people that in your life that impact you. We should be able to talk about that and be okay with it, right? So I think that that's the first part. But like you're in a space where I have no skin in the game. I don't have a personal relationship with you, right? So I'm not going to be judgmental, right? Like I'm going to just hear you. It's a safe space for you. Whereas like sometimes when you talk to your friends, you might have to worry about if they're going to tell another friend about the thing that you said. Right. That's not going to happen when you come and see me, right? And like you have to also think I'm trained and having therapeutic conversations, right? I can be able to assess you in a way that your friend can't. I can come up with interventions in a way that your friend is not able to. So I think that that's the biggest part of it. And the consistency that we talked about earlier, like consistently people know that on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks, they have me. Right? I'm the other voice in their head. That's what they tell me, right? Because sometimes we're the only voice, right? We don't have anyone to kind of talk to about what's going on in our lives. And also what we don't talk about is everyone doesn't have friends. So let me be clear, because I talk to women every day and there's so many women out here who don't have friends and they don't have anyone to talk to. So I become that other voice for them. But I think that when you think about when is it time to go to therapy, I think one of the biggest things is when you realize that you struggle with building and maintaining relationships, right? So like when you are like, you know, have issues with insecurity or you find yourself kind of isolating yourself, right? And you feel like you having issues with anger. And whenever there's an issue, you feel like it's the other person, it's never me. You might want to take a look at yourself and kind of figure these things out. If you have a hard time regulating your emotions, right? So we all have times where we are like sad or a little anxious or we're a little angry. But when it starts to negatively impact our lives, when it starts to negatively impact us at work or at school, right? When we are not as productive as we once were, that's when you got to think about it, right? If you're having issues with energy level, like concentration, your memory, you know, being attentive, you might want to talk to someone and kind of figure out what's going on with you. So at this point, I will say Black and brown people are coming to therapy in droves. And I could not be happier, right? And I have to tell you, there is a bit of shame there because some of them tell me, my parents don't know I'm here, Ednesha. And I'm like, you know, and that hurts me to know that there is this fear of you telling someone that you're seeking help. And when you seek help, it's not that you're weak. It's actually that you're very strong, that you decided that, you know what, I recognize and I acknowledge that I need some help and I'm going to go get the help that I need.
Yeah. And I would say that, you know, when it comes to seeking out therapy, for me, it's not something that should just be done when you are at the, you know, you hit rock bottom or everything is devastating. This is a practice that needs to be ongoing. We need to have these, you know, conversations with professionals who can help us navigate life because life is hard. No matter if you had a good day or a bad day. You just want to work on
yourself, right? And you just want to improve and be better, go to therapy.
Can I just add too quickly? We need more Edneshas, right, in this practice. She mentioned earlier that only 5% of most of the clinicians are Black or either clinicians of color. And so as we continue to normalize this conversation and we see more everyday people and celebrities and creatives talking about it, we also want to make sure that we are uplifting organizations like Taraji P. Henson's foundation, the Boris L. Henson Foundation, who puts money back into the community so that some of these young people can now look at psychotherapy and psychology and psychiatry as a viable career path for them. So we need to make sure that we're lifting up our clinicians of color and making sure that they're pouring into these young kids and making them want to be a part of this profession so that down the line, Angela's grandkids and kids and Ednesha's grandkids, you know, can have clinicians of color if they want them.
Absolutely. And, you know, Angela, you know, we talked a little bit about some of the negative things we're going through at this time. One thing we did not touch on is social media, because social media can be very positive. It can also be very negative. Yeah. And someone like you have millions of followers and you're a public figure. What would you say about the need to use social media in a positive way so that it sort of combats the unrealistic expectations many young women feel?
Right. I would say how to combat that is by being realistic. You know, I think for me, like, I don't just show people only the good, you know what I mean? I think it's important for them to see all sides. Like even the other day, like, you know, as I'm going through my journey, you know, I'm raising a young man, a little boy by myself, and his father's not here. So sometimes I have days where I'm mourning that, you know what I mean? I think mourning is a process that doesn't just go away. Even after you begin to heal, it's like a wound that just every time you retouch it, it still hurts. And so when I'm going through that, or I'm looking through memories, or I'm going through my emotions, and my son's asking for his father and stuff like that, although I am healing, although I have a team and a community that's helping me, uplifting me, I'm still going through it. You know what I mean? I'm still living my life day to day, and I'm super positive and looking at the positives, but I have my moments. And so when I say being realistic, it means that being a real person. You know, I can go on live and I can have makeup on, or I can go on live and have none on and show you guys my skincare products, or just be mom or whoever I am. I think it's important that people don't get so caught up in, you know, what social media, the unrealistic part of what people think it is. Even after looking at the interview with Meghan Markle and Oprah, just like how what you thought it was, what you were looking at, isn't what it was. And so now it's like, how do we all open up to say, okay, yeah, it may look like this, but this is what it actually is. You think you know what's happening, but actually, I'm going through all of this. So I've always made it my business to say, hey, this is the real part. You know, when I'm struggling with my body weight, hey, I don't like how I look, but I'm definitely fighting through it. Or it's just important to be real with each other in this world and time and the day and age we're in. Everyone wants to be unrealistic. Everyone wants fast. Everyone wants these fantasies. Life can be great, but it's not all, you know, a fantasy. And so that's where being realistic comes in for me. Like, I just like to be honest and as blunt as I possibly can. You know, I obviously don't share every last part of your life on this platform, but I give pretty much like a big part of me. Like, I get up and I'm pretty much recording everything from working out to jumping on calls to being around my kid to eating what I eat. Like, I'm sharing a very large part of myself with people as I go, because I know that there's another me out there. You know what I mean? Another young woman that may need that push that day, because sometimes I need the push. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I need my friends and I got to call my friends, or I need an extra therapy session, or I need an energy healing session. I need something. I need to go sit with a Bible and figure out what's going on. I need to talk to God for the day. You know what I mean? It's day by day. And I think, like what you were saying earlier, some days I don't know how I feel. Today I'm just taking it how I'm taking it. And I'm going to take it moment to moment until I feel strong and good again. Sometimes you don't. And so that's what I would say is like being realistic and being real with yourself and being gentle with yourself and kind to yourself. I feel like we all can be hard on ourselves. Like, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. You know, you look at yourself and you're like, you know, for me, I can be like, I'm 33. And at 33, when I was 19, where I thought I'd be versus where I'm at may not be what the picture looks like, right? Like, everyone has their own expectations of where they want life to take them. But it's like, be realistic, and then also pat yourself on the back for the work that you've done. Because I've done a lot of work, but there's so many more things I want to do. But be gentle with yourself. Take your time. Like, do it the right way. And so that's kind of what I would say. I don't know if I answered it, but that's kind of how I heard it.
Yeah, no,
I
you definitely
agree.
answered that. Yeah, Ebony, as we begin to wrap up the conversation, definitely want to get your response. And also, what benefits would you say young people should expect from healthy living?
First, I just want to say thank you all for sharing. It is so important that the young women who are watching know that they are not alone. You are not alone in these feelings. You are not alone in how, you know, you take things in. And I think it's important. We were talking about social media. It's important that we not compare ourselves to everyone else.
Yeah.
It's really important not to compare yourself to the next person or the person that you see in front of you, because you don't know what their real situation is. And you have to know that you have your own unique qualities. Everything about you is already beautiful. You are amazing. You're strong. You're capable. You got this. I just want to tell all the young women who are watching, don't compare yourself to others. You are your own unique individual.
Yeah.
You are a queen. Keep rocking your crown, queen. You got this. And just know that if you need a support system, you can reach out to others, reach out, speak to a therapist, but you are not alone, and we are all here for you. And thank you, Angela, for having this discussion, because I think it's so important to these young women who are watching.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was just even listening to you guys and your stories and what everyone is going through or been through, like, even is just inspirational to me. You know what I mean? Just to be able to sit here and hear your stories and know that, you know, I've suffered with anxiety. Just to hear you're a therapist and you suffer with that lets you know, like, okay, I'm not alone in that. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things we just don't discuss because of this picture perfect thing that we want to paint. And to me, like, I've never been one to want to paint a perfect picture. I'm just not. Like, I just feel like it's important to be upfront, and that's what I'm about. So being able to hear you guys' stories, and I don't mean to call you guys, but I just speak like that. Like, everyone's story is like really amazing and inspiring. So I know there are other individuals just like us, other women out there that are just like us. And so hopefully today we really touch them, and that they can touch their friends, family, mother, cousin, whoever that may be.
Ednesha, you know, what books, resources, podcasts, what would you leave our audience with so that they can continue to get the mental health, self-care, whatever it is that they need?
Oh, I would have to tell them to go to my podcast, right? So I do have a podcast. I actually have two podcasts. So my first podcast is Be Real. And so we talk about all things mental health on there. And I also have another podcast called Black Woman Be Whole. And so our tagline is some real Black girl shit. So like, it really helps Black women to see like, okay, we're all going through something, right? Mm-hmm. And so you just have to figure out, how do I navigate that thing that I'm going through? But we're all going through something. And I would tell people to go to Therapy for Black Girls, right? Because if you want to find a therapist, she has a full listing of therapists on there. Melanin and Mental Health also has a full listing of therapists on there. My Instagram is actually Black Woman Be Whole, and I do workshops with women, and we deal with like healing and sisterhood and how to communicate, you know, your needs to the people in your life. So I think that that's really important. Is communication is important. I think sisterhood is very important, and knowing where to find a therapist. Because I think that is one barrier to all of this, is that sometimes we just don't know.
Exactly.
So I get people who just, you know, like sometimes they'll just hit me up on Instagram and they'll be like, Ednesha, can you help me find a therapist? I'm like, where do you live? You know, what insurance do you have? I know how to find that rather quickly. And I just send it to them. And they're so grateful, because sometimes we just don't know. So we just got to reach out and ask for a little bit of help.
Ebonny, what is one resource you would like to leave with the audience?
Well, I would say that my Instagram account, Ebonny Fowler, I post daily workouts and I give options for everyone. So no matter where you are on your fitness journey, I recommend that you start somewhere, because everyone has a starting point and there are options for everyone. So I don't like to say beginner or advanced, and I don't like to say modified, but I do like to give options that works for every level and find what works for you. Like I said, it's all about having fun with it. Find what works for you, use what you have, and never give up. Stay consistent. You got this. You got this, queen.
Shanti, what is one resource you would like to leave?
I'm going to talk quick because I got more than one. So our website is silencetheshame.com. Two other great websites are betterhelp.com and psychologytoday.com. You can also put in there if you're looking for an African-American therapist. We have a podcast on Google Play, iTunes, and SoundCloud under Silence the Shame. I have a book, Silencing My Shame, that's available on my website, shantidas.biz. And if you are in crisis and can't afford to reach a therapist, you can text the word silence to 741-741. It's free, it's confidential, it's 365 days a year, and you can be immediately connected to a counselor and they'll help you find a therapist in your area. And the Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-TALK.
And Angela, we'll give you the last word. What would you advise for people in the audience to do or to say, or to, you know, what resources to help?
I think they gave some really great resources on what to do, like if you need immediate help. But I would just say things to tie into your daily routine is like just get up, pray, meditate, connect with the source that works for you. I just feel like that's the most important part is setting your environment up. I think that's one of the best things you can do is wake up. For me, I light incense, sage. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to set my environment. So I think it's important to set your stage for the morning. When you wake up, however you want that day to roll out, set the stage for it. I don't care if it's hearing a great, whatever song's been on your mind first thing in the morning. Sometimes that's the kickstart you need. So I would just say that, listen to some meditation music, whatever it is, just start your day off like that and everything else will follow, I promise. But, if you're going through something, it's not too late to get help. It's not too late to figure it out. It's never over. You know what I mean? Until you say it's over, you just give up. But don't give up. You know what I mean? Find someone that you can talk to, that you can trust. You don't have to talk to everyone about your issues, but at least find one person that you can really confide in. A therapist is great, but if you're not there yet, just find someone close to you that can really pick you up. We all need someone. Don't do it alone. That's all I would say is like really find someone that can encourage you.
I just
Absolutely.
want to add, I'm sorry, Selena, I have this t-shirt on, Black Girl Joy. Find your joy, people. I really want to put that out there. Find your joy. Figure out where your joy lies. I ask people that all the time and they don't know. So please find your joy.
Yes.
So important. This was an amazing conversation.
That's
I'm
good.
sure the audience got just as much out of it as I did by listening and being a part of it. Thank you so much, Angela, for facilitating this and the team that you're working with. And I just want to say that identify your feelings, find your joy, as Ednesha just said, and also know that a feeling is a feeling, right? It passes. So if you are going through a heartache or devastation, do what you need to do to keep moving, to keep motivated, and know that in a day from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, it will get easier. So do not give up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amazing conversation.
Thank you, guys.
I want to thank you guys so much for being here today. The conversation was absolutely incredible. We need to talk about this more. We need to normalize these conversations. Just amazing. I'm still blown away from everything that we actually got to talk about and discuss today. I want to thank Champions for Philanthropy for putting this all together. You guys are amazing. I'm excited for the next one. I hope you guys are present. Until then, peace, light, love. Love you guys.